Good evening, YouTube. How's everybody doing? So we're doing a late night stream. It's 8:38. This might be one of the latest streams I've ever done. Normally I do them with daylight out. So the SHSAT is encroaching. It's SHSAT week, at least for some of you. Some of you still going to take it a month from now. That's pretty mind-blowing. So uh, I went through some poems. I went through the multiple choice, and I went through the grid-ins, and I'm going to try to get through the multiple choice from Form A. That's what I'm going to be using. I was just skimming through some of them. They don't look too bad. Actually, I've solved them already a few times because I'm working with various students that need the same kind of thing. All right, so it's late, so why don't we jump right into there? Please like and subscribe. Anybody needs help, including late minute tutoring, hit me up at GregsTutoringNYC at gmail.com. You might be stuck on one topic, or you just need one session. That's fine. I'm ending some of my sessions with my existing students, so my schedule will be changing, and I'll be getting some free spots back. So don't hesitate to contact me, and we'll work it out. And again, some of you have your test on Thursday, some on this weekend, some in all the way up to December 17th. So there's still a lot of wiggle room, still a lot of time here. And I wish everybody the best of skill in this process. And let's jump into it. All right, let me get this off the screen and jump into the questions. All right, so prime factorization is something you guys are supposed to know. So if you don't, Google it and then learn how it works. So we're going to go through that. Let me just make sure we're live. That's my normal ritual here. Jump into the questions. All right, we're good. This way I can see the questions without tabs flying all over the place. So basically, there's a few strategies to doing prime factorization. So I'll just stick to the classic one. They don't give too bad numbers here. So let's just stick to the formal ease of it and then work through there. So what we're trying to do is find all the factors of 756 that are prime numbers only. So we normally like to start with 2. This is an even number, so 2 will work. And then we divide 2 into 756. So we get 2 into 7 3 times with the remainder of 1. 2 into 15 7 times with the remainder of 1. And 2 into 16 with 8. So let me just double check that that's right. 6, 750, 740, 756. Yes, that's good. I notice that this is still an even number. So I'm going to try the next prime, which is still 2. So 2 into 3, 1. We get 2 into 17, 8 times. 16, 1. And then we get that. So we should have the factors now of 378 involving prime numbers is going to give us 2 and 189. Enough of you might stop right there. But if we add up the sum of the digits of this number, because now we're going to try to, it's no longer even, so 2 won't work, right? So we're going to try 3 now. Well, the sum of the digits is 1 plus 8 is 9, and 9 plus 9 is 18. So 18 is divisible by 3, so 3 is a factor. So 3 goes into that 60, 3 goes into 18 6 times, and 3 goes into 9 that. It should leap out at you that this is still divisible by 3, and we get, what do we get there? 21, if I did that right. And this is still divisible by 3, we get 3 and 7. And that's the deal. So what we're trying to do is, on the left-hand side, that's the normal convention, is group the prime numbers there, and then we're going to group the prime numbers here. So the spiel of this is basically this is 2 squared, and the spiel of that is this is basically 3 cubed. And then we're just left with the 7 by itself. Okay, that turns out to be the answer D. All right. There's another faster way to solve this problem, which is if that's how prime factorization works, well, 21 still has factors, including prime factors, 3 and 7 in particular. So the answer can't be A immediately. 9 has prime factors, in particular 3 times 3, so B can't be the answer, so that's out immediately. And the same spiel, 27 has 3 and 9, which is 3 times 3 times 3, so that's out. So we didn't really need to do the prime factorization tree. We could have just bing, bang, boom this in about 5 to 10 seconds and then gone on to question number 64. And that's what we're going to do. Anybody have any questions as we're doing these? Feel free to ask. Not a problem. All right, let me puff this up slightly so we can work with a better visual, because those exponents are tiny, and at least me, I'm going blind. So just to be clear, this is x squared y to the 6th divided by x y squared. Okay, so that's our illustration. We don't know what to do with it. So what is the value of the expression above if x is minus 2 and y is 2? So we could plug that in immediately and get minus 2 squared. And then the y is going to be 2 to the 6th. And figure out what that is, and then divide that by x is minus 2, and then y is 2 squared. Okay, that's too busy for me. I don't want to do all those computations. So what I'm going to try to do is see what we can do with the exponents and make the computation slightly easier for ourselves. All right, let me get rid of this thing right here for a second. And it's not letting me do that. Wait 1 second again. Delete, delete. I think I'm going to have to change this app. The app works fine until I log on to YouTube. All right, in the meantime, I'm Greg from GregsTutoringNYC. All right, I think it's going to let me do it now. Wait a second. There we go. Okay, so what we want to do is we basically have x squared over x, right? That's our x's here. And then we have y to the 6th over y squared. Okay, so the x squared over x, that's just x, right? This is x to the 1. So basically we have x to the 2 minus 1 is equal to just x to the 1, which is just equal to x. Okay, so that means we end up getting x on the top. And then for the same matter, y to the 6th divided by y squared is y to the 6 minus 2. And that's equal to y to the 4. All right, so then we get y to the 4 on the top. And there ain't nothing left at the bottom. So it's basically 1. So all we have to do now is just do those substitutions. So x was minus 2. And we have positive 2 to the 4th. All right, so positive 2 to the 4th, we get 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. So that's 16. And then it's basically 16 times minus 2, and that's equal to minus 32. So far these problems are not too bad, right? Let me just check that we're live. We're live. There's somebody in the lobby. Welcome. Please like and subscribe, share, comment, join the chat. Okay, so that's 64. 65. We have 8 divided by m. So be careful on those. Depending on the font they use or people's eyesights, that's a divide. And the next one is a plus. All right, so that's 8 divided by n within parenthesis, plus 4 equals 20. What is the value of m? So your job is always to get the thing by itself, right? And if we subtract 4 from both sides, we end up with 8. I'm going to rewrite it in this form. 8 divided by m equals 16. Okay? We need to get m by itself, so we multiply both sides by m. That cancels out, and we get 8 is equal to 16m. We're still trying to get m by itself, so we're going to divide now both sides by 16. That cancels out, and m is 8/16. We're supposed to simplify all answers unless it tells us otherwise, and 8/16 is the same as 1/2. All right, so far, not a big deal. The only big deal for this one was, remember what I'm circling right now. I rewrote to be 8 over m like that. I didn't have to, but that's what you need to do. There's no real other way to do that. Even if I kept it like this, 8 divided by m is equal to that 16. All right, we'd still need to figure it out basically the same way. And just so we want to also double check and feed our answers back in. So we had 8 divided by 1/2, or I wrote 0.5. Let me write the half. Plus 4 equals 20. So a division by a fraction is the same as multiplication by that fraction's reciprocal. Okay, or many of you know this is keep the original number, change the operation, and flip the last thing. So KCF. Okay, so we get the rest stays the same. Plus 4 is equal to 20. And that means we get 16, because 8 times 2 is 16, plus 4 is equal to 20. And then obviously 20 is equal to 20. So that's our way of feeding it back in. The thing of feeding things back in, like in 63, that's hard to do. All right, we could have computed this. We could have got that was 2 squared is 4, right? And this is 27. So if you multiply 4 times 27 times 7, we should have gotten the 756 back in. Okay, and this is 28. Or we could just double stuff, right? If this is 27, doubling that is 54, and doubling that again is 108. Okay, so then we have 108 times 7, and we get 56, 7. So that was an easy double check. So always double check all your answers, and then you kind of don't need to come back to them. You've confirmed it, especially when a question is as simple as 63 or as straightforward as 65. This SHSAT is notorious for nuances, but 63 and 65 have no nuance. Okay, what about the double check on this 64? 64 is hard to double check, but you just have to make sure that you know your exponent rules and that you've exercised them properly. Okay, and anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask them. So they usually throw in a very modest algebraic equation for you guys to solve. And it almost seems to be too easy to be true. So we need to get x by itself. That's our normal spiel. So there's a couple ways to solve this. I'm going to get rid of this x here, and I'm going to subtract x from both sides. So that goes away. I get 5x equals minus 1680. So I need to divide 5 by both sides. That goes away. I'm going to divide this by 5. So I have 1680. And then remember, it's a minus 1680. So whatever we get here, we have to negate. 5 goes into here 3 times with 1. 5 goes into here 3 times with 3. And 5 goes into that. So it's not E. It should be H, right? Be careful here. All right? And for the same kind of logic with these kind of things, we should really be feeding it back in. So basically, we're going to get minus 336 minus 1680, right? So that's going to be minus, well, let's do it, 1680. and 3, 3, 6. That's 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 1, 1, 7, 0, 1. So that should give us minus 2016, right? And therefore, if we do minus 336 times 6, we should get the same number. So 6 times 6 is 36, 6, 3, 18, 19, 20, 21, 2, 18, 19, 20. So we have double checked the answer by plugging it in. Okay, once we figured out the answer. I don't really like doing this subtraction here, nor do I like doing this multiplication. But I have, given the dynamics of this question, there's no other way to provide a sanity check to it except actually doing that. I could redo the computation, subtracting x from both sides and then dividing by the 5 or whatever. But if I made a mistake doing that, I'm going to be doing the same thing twice. So as much as I don't want to plug the value in when I finally computed it, I really have no choice because I'm trying to make sure my answer is correct. And there's no other way to solve this. The beauty of a lot of the questions is sometimes 2, 3, 4, 5 ways to solve it. But in this one, there's no other way to solve it. So that's our problem right there. I see a few people in the lobby. Please like, subscribe. Please comment. If you have questions about any of the questions I'm currently going through, please feel free to ask. I am not necessarily going to go over every single question on Form A, but I'm going to try. I usually run these sessions about an hour, and at the moment we're going for 20 minutes or so on. So let's see how we end up with that. All right. And if you have other questions about the SHSAT that I'm not covering, you can toss them out, and I'll probably do them at the end, and maybe a quick Q&A session. I have done Q&As in the past that have run for hours. I have not had the time this year to do that. So hopefully we can still do it by test day. But if not, you know, I can only do what I can do. Okay, 67. A person buys a used car with a down payment of $1,200. Okay, and makes monthly payments of $275 for 3 years. So I already know without reading this and just given my experience, enough students are going to do 275 times 3, and whatever that equals to, that's what they're going to add back into here. That is not what the question is. It says monthly for 3 years. That means you're not multiplying 275 by 3, you're multiplying 275 by 36, right? It's monthly for 3 years. Therefore, there's not 3 payments, there's 36 payments. So that's where most students make the mistake here. And at that point, it just becomes simple multiplication and adding the value back into that. So let me try to do the so-called simple multiplication, which is always error prone, and see if I make an error. So 6 times 5 is 30. Right, my 0, carry my 3. 7 times 6 is 42, plus 3 is 45. Carry my 4. 6 times 2 is 12, so we should get 1650, right? And then we have 5 times 3 is 15. Carry my 1. I got 21, 22, 2, 6, 7, 8. Okay, I got 0, 0, 7, 8, 9, and that should be 9. So I should have $9,900 here, all right? We still need to add the $1,200 back. So that's going to be 0, 0, 9, 10, 11, 1, 9, 10, 11. All right, so we should be getting C there. So this one's kind of a no-brainer. Again, nothing too wacky, too bad at the moment with some of these questions. By the way, I'm going to skip 69. That's a hard question, and probably spin it off on its own video by itself. All right. That's involves algebra and some kind of mild logic. So I'm going to spin that off so it gets its own attention. By the way, this one is hard to double check as well. Just the catch is this is an ATD question in addition to the interest kind of thing or whatever. Well, actually, this is not interest, but the payments. The thing where it's monthly is just the gotcha here. Otherwise, it's testing some of your computational skills and your understanding of questions. This is still math. It's not trickery. It's not anything else. It's just a matter of getting that right. A lot of you want to categorize this by using the 275 times 3 as a silly error. There's usually no silly errors. It's about your proficiency. Okay? You need to have that attention to detail. That's part of what your mastery of math is about. Okay? So saying it's a careless error or something like that is not addressing the underlying issue. I often find that even when a student gets a lot of questions right, when there's only a few wrong, they tend to blow off the so-called silly errors and don't do that because I find over this different exams, the student is often making the same error. So it's not just a silly error. It's not a oops, right? It's usually there's something underlying underneath that, which is causing that student to make that same error repeatedly, okay? And it's usually fixable, okay? I'm talking about most cases. I'm not talking about every single pathological scenario. So you guys need to be careful with stuff like this. I make mistakes too, but it's about part of your growth. And what should usually happen is when you make a mistake solving these questions, it should almost set off a red alert in your head, like, oh, I know I made a mistake. What would it be? And you should be able to fix it right there. And what you need to do is before you move on to the next question, figure out, did I finish solving this? That's another kind of silly error category that many students have where you do 3/4 of a problem and then you go to the next question. Bro, you never finished answering the question. One strategy around that is to identify the question first. My mind doesn't work this way, so I personally don't do this, but sometimes it's worth identifying what is the question, even before you read it. What is the total amount that the person pays for the car altogether, right? And then go back to it because now you've identified it. And when you go back to it and read it, and then you read the question again to finally do the answer. And then when you finally get the answer, the 1100, you're going to stop and reread the whole question again, right? Some of these things I'm telling you this evening are actually going to slow you down, but when you finally get the answer, it's going to support that you got it accurate and correct, and it's a sane, comfortable answer instead of scribbling stuff down and moving to the next question. There's a process you should be going through on every single question, no matter what it is. Even something like this, asking yourself, is there a unit conversion? But the truth of the matter is this one didn't have a unit conversion, right? There was no feet to yards and stuff, but there was a conversion. There was a unit conversion. It just wasn't with lengths and capacities. We still had to do the 12 times 3 thing, right? So there's things like that. One second, people, especially if you're catching us on the replay. We always have a wonderful, lovely trolls. Welcome, trolls. We love everybody. But we need to get rid of them. So give me one more second so that this doesn't just keep pursuing itself. Okay, no problem. Thank you guys for your patience in these wonderful YouTube activities that occur. I don't understand. People are getting nothing out of doing some of these silly things. Okay, so I like to look at the illustration for 68. It looks like a parallelogram. I'm not sure if it is. And I noticed that there's a 3x degrees and a 2x degrees. I could say a few things about that. but I don't know whether they're important or not. In other words, once you know some of the facts about a parallelogram, certain things about the problem can leap out at you. So let's see what the words say in the parallelogram above. So now we've confirmed that, and now we can kick in. So they want to know what X is, okay? So there's a couple of facts about a parallelogram. So the alternate sides are parallel, and they're going to be equal length in this case. So the single ticks, the double ticks, they're opposite sides that are the same. Opposite angles on a parallelogram are also the same. So this is 2x, and that means this one down here is going to be 3x. Okay? Since it's a four-sided closed polygon, it's 360 degrees altogether. Okay? We can use that if we want, because if we add up all the angles, the 3x plus the 2x is 5x, and there's another 2x plus that. So we get 10x altogether. And if we divide both sides by 10, we get that x is equal to 36. And that is indeed the answer. Okay, so that's one way to have solved it. Another way to have solved it, let me just change the color of the pen for a second, is that if you know anything about your angle rules, if this is line L and this is line M, if I ran a transversal through it, then angles like angle A is the same as angle B, and angle C is the same as angle D. And in fact, A, B, C, and D are all equal, and similarly E is the same as F, and G is the same as H. And in fact, because L and M are parallel, then E, F, G, and H are all the same angle as well. And then there's other things we can pick out of here, that A plus E is, wait, I have an app crashed. I'm not sure if your screens are going to be good from this point. Let us see. No, it's not. So YouTube messed me up here. So let's do this. Let me see if I can get the right page back here and see if we can continue on. If not, we're going to end the stream. So this is form. What form am I in here? YouTube must despise me because I'm always running into problems by doing this stuff. All right, let's see. I'm close to the page now. Give me another second and see if we can get coherency and do a couple of maybe five more questions. Otherwise, I'm going to kill the stream. Let's see here. Okay, we're back to 68. It seems to have lost the information I put on it, so let's go back into here, which is fine because we already solved it the one way. Okay, so there we go. So let's solve it using some of the other stuff I was just talking about. So given the relationship between angles, that this angle here plus this angle here is going to equal 180. So that means the 3x plus the 2x is equal to 180. That means we have 5x is equal to the 180. And the same thing, we can just do the divide. So divided by 5 here, that cancels, divided by 5 here, and we still get the 36 out of that. All right? So there wasn't too much theater with this one either. All right? Like I said, I'm going to skip 69 and give it its own video. 70 is also slightly nasty. I'm going to skip 70. I might piggyback it with 69. By the way, a quick comment. The SHSAT Handbook is arranged this year in a way that similar questions are put together. So it's not as obvious right here, but there might be like 3 algebra questions in a row. There might be 3 geometry questions in a row. There might be 3% questions in a row. So you might be able to use that to your advantage. I'm not quite 100% sure. So we're going to do 71, and I will do the others in other videos. So this is just to solve for x. So we're going to divide by 6 on both sides. That's our illustration. There's really nothing else going on there. And we're going to get minus 2 is greater than x. And usually they do not write it in this form, or whatever form you end up getting, the reciprocal is going to be true. So if A is less than B, this also means that B is greater than A. Let's give real examples. As 1 is less than 2, then 2 is greater than 1. This is a no-brainer. So if minus 2 is greater than x, then x is less than minus 2. So therefore the answer has to be C. Right? That's all they're looking for there, that you're observant with your inequalities. Okay? 72 is involving the distributive property, involving x and y, and they want you to solve for x in terms of y. So let's unravel the distributive property. So we get 5x minus 5 times 6y, so that's 30y. Whoops. Equals the 50y. We're going to add 30y to both sides. Right? So that's plus 30y over here then. So then we get 5x is equal to 80y. All right, so let's just make sure that I've done that right. Yes, I seem to have. So we're going to divide both sides by 5. So this goes away, and then x is going to be equal to 80y divided by 5 is going to be 16y. So it says, what is the value of x in terms of y? That's what it means in terms of a y. That we have a multiple of y here, something involving y's. All right, so then the answer here would be E as in Edward. Again, not so bad, not too bad. Okay, we have an illustration. Let me puff that up so we're getting a better visual on it. So we have 6 across the top. We have 5 along the right-hand side. We have 2 along the left-hand side and 3 along that thing there. So if the whole thing here is 5 and this is 2, that means this right here is 3 inches, okay? And then if this whole thing here is 6 and this is 3, then that bottom piece there is also 3. Okay? There is another thing we can figure out here. And let's look at the question first, because I'm jumping ahead. I know the question already. A scale drawing of a new pool is shown above. All corners are right angles. What is the actual perimeter? What is the pool of... Bleh, what is the perimeter of the actual pool? All right? So we're going to use that scale at the bottom. A ½ inch equals 25 feet. So what we basically need to do is figure out the perimeter of the pool and then apply the scale to it. All right, so with that in mind, if we add up, if I'm going to go clockwise, 6 plus 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 2. All right, so 6 plus 5 is 11, plus the 3 is 14, plus the next thing is 17, plus the next one is 20, and the last two. So we end up getting 22. 22 inches is the perimeter. Just a quick sidebar. I'm going to change the color to basically detail this, because we actually didn't need to do certain computations to do this. We did not need to find this 3, and we did not need to find this 3. Okay? The thing is, if there's a nail here, and a nail right there, and a nail here, and I take this nail out and push with my finger, I can bring this whoops, did that wrong. To be like that. So that means this whole thing here, that's still 6. And this whole thing here, that's still 5. So as long as we knew the 6 times the 5, we're just doing 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. And if we know the length, and that's the same as 2 times the length plus width, right? And if we know the length plus width was 6 plus 5 is 11, then the whole thing is going to be 22. All right, so that's basically what we had to do. So let's try to get the answers on the screen now that we got the visual figured out here. So if a 1/2 inch is 25, we can just write that out if we want. So 1/2 is to the 25 feet. That's feet. This is inches. And we could probably use 0.5 if we want to, as 22 is to what? Okay, and at that point, all we have to do is to cross products. All right, so we're going to have 25 times 22 equals our x over 2. Multiply both sides by 2. So if we want, we can make this 2244, or we can make the 2550. So we're going to get rid of that. I'm going to make the 2550. Right? So then the answer should kind of leap out at you guys that it's C. 50 times 22 is going to be 1100. Uh, 74. So again, there's a ratio problem. That was a ratio problem. This is also going to be a ratio problem. Maria rides her bicycle to school at a constant speed of 15 miles. And I like to write my units down all the time. Per hour. And I'm actually going to put the 1, because if I cancel the hour out, I still want the unit to be there. Okay? If the distance to school is 6 miles, how many minutes will it take her? So I'm going to put X onto here. So I have 15 miles per hour. I can convert to minutes now or convert to minutes when I get the answer. All right, so let's do it the latter. So 15x is equal to 6, and then x is equal to 6/15. 3 goes into each of those, so what do we get? We get 2/5, right? So what we're talking about is 2/5 of 60, right? Because now that's using the thing involving, which is what was the hours, all right? So we want to go to that next step on that. So we're going to get 2/5. 1/5 is what, 12? And then 2/5 is going to be 24. Or we could just do it, right? 2/5 of 60. 5 goes into 60 12 times, and 2 times 12 equals 24. Okay, we could have done 15 miles to 60 minutes and then gotten the answer straight up. So that would be 6 over here. Whoops. Six on the top, X at the bottom, right? Now all we had to do is do the proportion again. We would get the X X being 12 directly in that manner. All right. Let's see, how long has this been going for? All right, we're getting close to an hour. Let me just peek at the next. I might end this now. Yeah, I'm gonna end the stream now and try to get it to continue tomorrow over the next few days. And with this way, we'll have bite-size pieces of this. And again, I'm going to do 6970 by themselves. Anybody with any last-minute questions? All right, hit me up. Please like, subscribe. Peace out, guys.